everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 142 for June 4th, 2015. Is it? It is 2015.
2016,
it's
right?
June 2015. I mean,
coming from the future.
It's not like, well, you are, especially in those great goggles.
I take these off and I can't even see you on the screen. So I'm going to leave them on.
When you take those off, but you gain your superpowers, don't you?
Something like that. What would my superpower be?
Wearing those goggles. I think that's really, that's pretty super. Okay. My name, by the way, is Russell Frost, and I am one half the coasting team. I guess that's co-host.
Hosting team. Boy, it's the two of us, and this thing's already off the rails.
Yeah, exactly. I need a stiff drink, and it's only 3:11 p.m. on the East Coast, and that's a little early for the stiff drink. So I'm just going to introduce my co-host. His name is Danny Cooper.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be back after, I don't know, last week I was kind of sick. The week before that, I think I was kind of sick. It's been a weird month or so for me, but I'm glad to be back. And I've got these beautiful glasses on today because I am potentially getting LASIK and I can't wear my contacts for a week. So when I see myself, I just feel like I'm perpetually have just woken up.
Because that's what you wear until you get your contacts in?
Yeah, I normally wear glasses for like 45 seconds a day. There's like 30 seconds when I wear them from the bathroom to my bed. And then there's like 15 seconds of when I wake up and go in the shower. Well, because without them, I would run into walls.
These are details of your life that I really had no knowledge of. And that's odd because we actually have shared sleeping space.
We have done that before. I don't know how much of that we needed to share with the listeners, but it's out there now.
Listen, I'm secure in my manhood. I guess maybe we'll save that story for another episode.
Yeah, well, let's see. Hey, well, your toolbox is gone.
It is?
The big thing in the back behind you.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are downsizing. You'll see some boxes down there.
Yeah.
The air conditioner in because it was uncomfortably cold or hot here last week. Of course, this week we're looking at highs in the 50s. So now it's stupid to be in there, but temporarily there's an air conditioner in the office. And yeah, we're packing up, we're moving out. And so yeah, the last few shows in this particular office that there will ever be. And yeah, the toolbox is gone.
Okay, well. I kind of missed it. I liked seeing a toolbox in somebody's office. It's random and cool.
I really love that toolbox, actually.
Especially since I assume that you're on like the second story of your house. I don't know.
I want to tell you, getting it down the stairs was a little less difficult than getting it up the stairs. Yeah. But yeah, it was a real bitch. There's no doubt about it. It was not fun. Because I'm feeling every bit of 53 this week. Okay.
Well, speaking of being bitches, let's mock some news this week, shall we?
Can we please? Because there's so much that is mockable. Yeah, and if you haven't already figured it out, happy viewers and listeners, it's Danny and I today. That's it. You got the dynamic duo, and you're going to have to deal with it. So, enjoy. Yeah, let's start with something that we've talked about in the past. Chevy had announced their coming EV, their pure electric car concept, and oddly enough, they decided to call it the Bolt. And that's Bolt with a B, not like their hybrid electric vehicle, which is Volt with a V.
So much stupid.
Because there wouldn't be any confusion there. Bolt and Volt would never. Well, as it turns out, our friends at Green Car Reports had reported, and many other places, that, there's already a vehicle called the Bolt. As it turns out, it's a really average-looking Yamaha motorcycle. It's actually their Star Motorcycles division. And it's called the Bolt. And it's That's a really dumb name for a motorcycle. And it's a really mediocre looking motorcycle too, says the motorcycle guy. But as it turns out, I have a feeling here that money talked, and Chevy was able to work it out with Yamaha. And after, I think, what was it, about 36 hours, this thing had been reported, suddenly Chevy said, no, it's all good. It's all good. We actually are going to make the Chevrolet Bolt.
You know, it was a chance for them to change the name. They should have taken that opportunity and ran with it.
You know what? Here's me playing the contrarian. How's that? I'm almost kind of coming around to liking the name. I still think the phonetic confusion between Bolt and Volt is horrible. And the Dolt jokes are going to come fast and furious at some point. But you know, I guess they can't do Colt because who was that? Was that a Dodge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Chrysler.
Really bad Dodge, as I recall.
Well, you know, what'd be interesting is if Chevy follows this naming convention for all of their alt fuel vehicles, their plug-in and electrified vehicles. And so they back themselves into a corner like Tesla with the Model S and the Model 3 and the Model X. So now Chevy has to name all of their electrified vehicles ending with OLT. So I think it should be up to our listeners to go onto our Facebook page and come up with the different names of future Chevy vehicles. Dolt, obviously. Obvious.
I think that one's there. We're going to see a concept car in Detroit this coming year for the 2019 Dolt, and it's going to be, wait for it, a hydrogen fuel cell car.
Oh, you just stole somebody's joke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's leave this topic alone. Let's see what our viewers and listeners come up with.
All right.
Facebook.com/whatdrivesus. So enough of that. Not being the segue king, I'm just going to introduce this next article without trying to connect it to the previous one. There was a fascinating story on Reuters this week. I thought it was fascinating because it's an aspect that I've never considered. So I want to read the headline because I love to hate headlines, and this is a really, really hateable headline. So from Reuters, Friday, May 29th, the headline reads, quote, "Platinum sector faces its Kodak moment in fuel cell technology," unquote. Now, I think someone doesn't quite understand what Kodak moment might mean.
Are they posing?
Or did they screw that up completely?
Yeah.
Yeah. That headline reads like it was translated from Chinese via Google.
It's a multi-use word at this point. So it's like, what are they referring to? Are they posing? Are they, I mean, I think the obvious intended meaning would be, you know, they don't want to be left behind. I mean, I'm still having to guess, and I know what the article's about, right?
Right. Exactly. Which, yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Kind of very sad. So
tell the folks what the rest of the silliness is about.
The interesting thing in this article, and luckily the rest of it's a little better written. Let me read the first paragraph to you. Quote, "Platinum miners betting on fuel cell vehicles to help boost demand for precious metal and lift moribund prices are in danger of having their hopes dashed. At least in the medium term, electric and hybrid cars are taking a bigger share of the market," unquote. I just wanted to say moribund because I love that word.
Moribund. Yeah,
so the theory here goes that with precious metal prices, I guess we can politely say plummeting and plateauing at a much lower level. It was the hope that fuel cell vehicles, which fuel cells tend to use a lot of platinum, more so than catalytic converters, it was the hope, I guess, that lots of car companies would build fuel cell cars so that the platinum miners could dig up more platinum and sell it.
I'm sorry. I'm really getting thrown off by the fact that my wife's ring might not be worth as much as it used to be because it's made of platinum.
I understand. I have some platinum myself. And depending on when you bought it, it may not be. I don't know.
Oh no! I just scrolled down and the newest Toyota fuel cell ad auto played on the page.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't get that. You must be special.
They're really targeting me for the Mirai.
Yeah. Yeah, which does have platinum in it. So if you're a big platinum fan, you want a Mirai. Maybe that's the marketing angle. You know what I mean? Maybe it should be like, you like jewelry, don't you? You like platinum, don't you? You need to buy a Mirai.
So do you know what of the fuel cell utilizes platinum?
You're going to ask me a really technical question here that I'm going to honestly say I don't, but it has something to do with a grid of platinum that lets some ions through or increases the ion flow. If I remember correctly, does that sound even like somewhat close?
Okay, here we go.
Does it explain it?
A little bit. Very slightly, just enough for Reuters to pass by. Fuel cell vehicles, if they do take off, will certainly be a boon for battered platinum producers. While electric cars do not need catalysts and hybrid models require small amounts, fuel cell powered cars use between 5 and 10 times more platinum than a diesel catalytic converter, which typically uses 3 to 7 grams. So it sounds like it's some sort of catalytic type of usage.
I don't feel too bad for the stab I took at it.
Well, I think you probably did a better job defining it than Reuters did at this point.
Yeah, well, hard to say. I do think it's interesting that the platinum business was excited about fuel cell cars, and now they're kind of going wah wah wah.
Is this another one of those mines in some South American country that Toyota has purchased? And
well, they did, right? I mean, God, that was years ago. But I mean, they bought all that. Was it in Chile? They bought all that territory.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locked up like 20% of the world's lithium or something. So,
well, hey, let's talk about that commercial while we're talking about fuel cells.
Okay.
Toyota's got a new fuel cell commercial. Documercial, whatever you want to call it. And this one's an interesting one because it employs children in its message.
Your implication is what?
I'll leave the listener to create their own definition of my implication.
I have to admit, this commercial just came out today?
Today or yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday. Okay. I just clued into it today. And honestly, I was having my car worked on, which maybe we'll talk about later, and watched the first 2 minutes of it, and then I started vomiting, so I had to stop the video.
Oh, it's worth watching the whole thing.
Is it? I just, as soon as I saw the word electrolysis on the screen, I just went, no. No. I get it. Hydrogen is everywhere. I get it. Do we need this?
I will give Toyota this credit. It is an interesting approach that they're taking with this marketing to show that hydrogen does come in many forms and is technically abundant. The first commercial or docu-mercial covered it coming out of a cow's ass.
Which wasn't...
No, not particularly attractive. This one is coming out of, they take 150 gallons, I think, of water out of a creek which is where they first found oil in America. Is that correct?
Titusville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Is that America or just anywhere, period?
That's commercial oil production. Yeah, I believe that was anywhere.
Oh, okay, cool.
I guess.
So
Detroit, that part of Pennsylvania.
they've gone poop and they've gone oily water. Next, they might show how we can get it from the chemical-laden toxic water that remains from fracking.
I like that. I actually have a storyboard that I'm working on that I'm going to submit to Toyota. It involves really cute little children running around with butterfly nets kind of just at the air. And then at the end, they kind of put the nets by the car, and then the car just drives off. I don't see how my commercial is any sillier than the cow butt or the electrolysis out of the almost irrelevant Oil Creek. At the risk of piling on, I do want to say I think this only bolsters Chelsea's argument that she made here, that the amount of effort and money that Toyota is putting in the Mirai is completely out of line with the number of cars that are actually going to be on the road and the prospects for this vehicle.
Here's the problem with that argument.
Okay.
The problem with that argument is that Toyota sees this, and I believe, in my estimation, especially Toyota Japan, sees this as a long-term play. And so the money that they're putting into it now is not to sell more Mirai.
It's to build awareness for the
technology. To build awareness, yes.
Okay, so here's where we differ then.
Which, from that perspective, I think they're actually doing a decent job of showing how hydrogen can be procured from many sources. Its conversion into energy for a fuel cell is dubious, but otherwise, I see what they're saying.
I mean, that's kind of the problem, is that they haven't made the important argument yet, or the important arguments. Instead, they're kind of going, hey, it's fueled by everywhere and it's everywhere. And, you know, I mean, like, okay, I get that. But
so what's the important argument?
I think the important argument is, hey, we've got a way to get hydrogen that doesn't take more energy than comes out and is somehow financially somewhat feasible.
Okay, but that doesn't exist.
Right.
Right?
And this is my problem with this. Where I'm going to hang with Chelsea is I don't see this as a long-term. This isn't Prius in 1999. This is compliance in 2015. And that's my problem with this. If this was Prius in 1999, dude, I would be behind it 150%. And I would be praising them for the yeoman's work that they're putting into it to push this technology.
I can't defend it. It's really, I'm trying to think of the other side of it, and I'm trying to think of what to compare it to, because there's just no comparison for a company that is marketing a technology that likely will not be any portion of the market within the next 15 years.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it. I can't. No, I really can't.
That is right there. I mean, aside from even, let's just ignore the whole unicorn farts thing. That's my problem. Is, again, this isn't Prius in 1999. This isn't a technology that is viable, that will work, that will engender enormous savings of fuel and reduce pollution. This is, I mean, they're taking a flyer. You know what I mean? They're like throwing something against the wall and going, hydrogen, it's going to work. And if it does, boy, do I look stupid because I didn't believe it. But again, without knowing what the secret process is for coming up with hydrogen, I just feel like I'm being pretty reasonable.
It is a big part of a small island nation's future energy. And so therefore it is being pushed to us in the United States.
Well, there's a lot of people at Anglo American Platinum that are counting on it. That's all I'm going to say.
Can we analyze the name Anglo American Platinum, by the way? I mean, that's one of the strangest company names I've ever heard.
There's also Impala Platinum and Lonmin, I guess. Lonmin is another platinum producer. And by producer, I mean they dig it out of the ground because nobody produces platinum. They just dig it out of the ground.
They have slaves that dig it and
that wipe it off,
stuff,
put it in envelopes, and they send it to people. I guess.
Well, we've hit fuel cell. Let's hit another keyword to it's like keyword bingo on what drives us this week.
It is. So this one really got under my skin.
I can tell. I can tell just by the way that you titled.
Really, really pissed me off. And I got to tell you, I feel bad because I'm a little sensitive to always feeling like, and I'll only speak for myself, I'm defending Tesla. Like I get a little tired of being in that position. I want to be critical of Tesla too. I'm not a cheerleader for them. I like a lot of the things they do, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm not by any means like a blind fanboy.
Let me show you if I can with my hand gestures.
Yes.
The Danny Cooper chart of being able to handle hearing about Elon Musk. It's gone like this, like this, like this. And I'm pretty sure I'm at a plateau at this point where it's about to just fall right down, plummet, and never want to hear his name again. Pretty much where I am.
You know when I had that moment? A long time ago with the whole Iron Man thing. It was like Elon Musk is Tony Stark. I was like, you know what? I love his cars, whatever, but and SpaceX is totally awesome, but shut the fuck up about Elon Musk.
Well, yeah, I'm getting a little bit past the Elon Musk as deity articles that you see out there. And I think so much of it, right, is like publications, online publications are literally writing anything they can about Elon Musk to get it out there because it gets shared, it gets posted, it gets put everywhere. Like there was that
here we are.
It was a bit, huh?
Here we are talking about it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well,
or at least
Business Insider, is that the one that got in trouble this past week? Somebody got in trouble this past week because they were basically like every 2 days they were putting out articles based on information from a book that just came out about Elon Musk. And the author on Twitter finally had to be like, well, hey, can you guys stop just clipping my book and putting it on your website every couple days? That'd be very helpful. Thanks. Appreciate it.
That's beautiful.
But anyway, I've completely kept you from telling people what this actual article is about.
And so let's go there. Jerry Hirsch from the LA Times, the Los Angeles Times, certainly not Business Insider, certainly not BuzzFeed, certainly not what you would expect to just kind of just wallow in link bait. And of course, this is the other kind of link bait, which is we've helped create the Kardashian god. Now we must tear it down. So this basically is it's pretending to be a muckraking article. The headline reads, and I quote, Elon Musk's growing empire is fueled by 4.9 billion in government subsidies. And then as you read through the article, you find out that 4.9 billion is, well, it's not just Tesla, which is in the photo directly below that. It's Tesla and SpaceX. It's a whole, it's basically like every penny that they could possibly tangibly even connect to anything that Elon Musk has ever done. Again, I'm a little sensitive because I'm like, well, I don't really need to defend Elon Musk. But I feel like I need to defend the projects that aren't just socialist government handouts.
Well, let's also be clear that unlike some other companies that have gone under over the last 4 or 5 years, his are doing decently so far. And one of them in particular provides a important public purpose that is no longer being done by the original National Aeronautical Space administrations that was created to do it, and that's SpaceX, right? I mean, SpaceX is picking up a lot of the slack of NASA.
I was wondering where you were going with that. That was nice.
Thank you.
That was nice. No, I mean, here's the other defense, which isn't a defense. I'm not even going to argue the numbers. You know what? I think Tesla, SolarCity, and SpaceX, I'm fine with that. Spend the money there. Fine. It's not a handout. And if it was, whatever. I agree with the mission of all those companies. I think we should be building awesome electric vehicles in the United States. I think we should be continuing our space program in the United States. And I think SolarCity bringing solar power to residential customers is super important as well. So honestly, if this is just some kind of like sort of pseudo right-wing, look at all the government money they've sucked, fine. I'd rather somehow I'm more comfortable with this money than giving, billions to GM to build Tahoes and Silverados.
Well, and that's something that I think everybody needs to realize is that companies of all shapes and sizes get all kinds of subsidies, especially the large ones, whether that's to move to a different state to set up their headquarters, Toyota, whether that's battery, A123 type of subsidies. It's going across everywhere. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately I have to. We can kind of trust Elon Musk with the money to turn it into something.
Ooh, yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, I gagged a little bit while saying that.
Yeah. How's that vomit taste? So, on $1.9
billion is a lot of money. In the same token, though, all three of these projects that he's working on are important to the future of the United States and require this much public investment to actually happen.
Yes, absolutely. And if we don't, somebody else will, whether it's China or Japan or India, somebody else will, and then we're out. We're just out. We're not players in that game. And historically, I'm kind of connected to an industry that the United States once was a global leader in that we walked away from, and we will never ever be that leader again. So I kind of get like the idea of being forward looking and saying, we do need to put money into these things because they're worthwhile endeavors.
I will give LA Times a little bit of credit for not including Tesla in the headline. I am looking at the keywords, though, the meta keywords right now, and Tesla Motors is in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, never fear, it was in there.
I didn't even think of that. Wow. Is PayPal in there too?
PayPal's not a keyword, no.
No, it's, who
because
Kardashian,
articles with
Caitlyn Jenner.
Let's see. We've got Elon Musk, Tesla Motors, SolarCity, SpaceX, electric cars, solar panels, space exploration technologies. Which who's searching for that? That's an interesting search term.
Wow.
I tend to use dumber search terms than that.
Yeah. I mean, we can argue, we can have legitimate arguments about whether or not the quote unquote 1.3 billion that Tesla is getting for the Gigafactory in Nevada is a good investment on Nevada's and the federal government's part or not. But again, Tesla's not alone. Whether it's Mercedes-Benz or Toyota or Ford or Exxon, all these companies get billions of dollars to do business, to do what they do, which is make money. And in this case, I'm kind of okay with this expenditure.
Yes.
Okay. So
move on.
Speaking of expenditures that I'm maybe not quite as sanguine about, gasworld.com, a site I've never been to before this last week.
These are some of these amazing contributions that we give to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of amazing contributions to the world, our friends in Germany have announced the first hydrogen fuel cell station on, wait for it, the Autobahn.
Wow.
So, right now, if I was like really hip, I'd have like some Kraftwerk music buzzing through here. We could talk over that for a minute, but I don't have it. I'm not that prepared.
We do both have our glasses on today, so I feel kind of jamming.
We could kind of do some sprocket dancing or something. Yeah, I don't. So yeah, they built their first fuel cell station on the Autobahn. It's one of, I think, 3 now in Germany. I'm trying to figure out how there's one line in here that totally blew my mind. They talk about spending nearly 1 million euros on the construction of this filling station. Why did I think are we spending like half that on these stations or more than that?
Oh, I'd have to go back to the conversation we had with Toyota.
Thank you. Because I don't remember either. And I'm thinking that number just doesn't seem right for some reason. But
I know that the one, I remember in that conversation there being a number thrown out from Patrick from maybe the Japanese construction.
Right.
And then one of the representatives from Toyota, I think it was not Doug, but I'm blanking on his name. Logan. I think Logan from Toyota said that number was not reflective of the U.S. cost because of the infrastructure and the real estate costs being so different in the United States, so much lower.
Well, if we really had our act together and we had like a production staff and assistants and whatnot, we might have all this at our fingertips, but we don't. How's that for a half-ass excuse?
Yeah, exactly. We should have producer boy with his headphones on in the corner, like finding the clip and playing it for us, but screw that.
Exactly. That's what I'm telling you right there. That's the sound of hydrogen on the Autobahn.
Oh. What's interesting is by the end of 2015, they'll have 50 filling stations available in metropolitan areas and along major roads. That's pretty good coverage for Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there are applications for hydrogen that we talked about that make more sense than others. And possibly, along some of these major European corridors, that makes sense. I'd have to really look at it and study it, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and go, you know what? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm getting kind of sucked into the music. I have to get rid of that.
Please do.
Is it getting on top of you there, Danny?
A little bit.
Well, let's shake you out of it. Let's go into something
that's really going to make me mad.
Yeah, let's go into something that we've talked about.
Because there's other news that goes along with this from this week too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Automotive News reported that they asked the big question, and you know that the rule of thumb is if a headline asks a question, the answer is always no. How can automakers add value to the dashboard? And the reason that I picked up on this was they were talking about automakers lining up to use CarPlay and Android Auto, which we've talked about in depth. We've complained about car companies, infotainment, telematics systems vociferously many times on the show. I despise the infotainment system in my Prius C. It is dreadful. Part of that's an artifact of it being a 2012, and part of it is just because it's crappy.
No, it's not. It's the fact. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's just bad. There was an interesting thing in here though that I hadn't really considered before, and I want to read a little, just like a couple of sentences from here. So, from this article in Automotive News, quote: "As soon as you enter into the Google or Apple experience, it's no longer about Chevrolet and the bow tie." IHS Automotive senior analyst Mark, whose last name I'll never be able to pronounce, says, car makers in general need to be very careful how they implement this. And I will give him credit for an observation I never really thought about. As much as I have complained about, like, just let me plug my damn phone in and be done with it. I don't need any crap built into the dash that doesn't work well and that goes obsolete. Okay, now I get that. This is a car company relinquishing a really important thing, and you know, they lose the chance to brand that. But
no,
does that make any difference at all?
No, and here's what I think is the actual trouble that OEMs could run into, and that is who does a better job of implementation of Apple CarPlay or Google Android Auto. It's not going to be any more, God willing, about who has the best awful infotainment system or who has the least out-of-date navigation maps in their car. It's about which manufacturer is offering the best experience with Android Auto and with Apple CarPlay. And by experience, I mean, are you doing a 6.1-inch resistive low-resolution screen, or are you doing a 7 or an 8-inch glass panel, capacitive touch, multi-touch screen to implement your Android Auto and Apple CarPlay? Because I was talking with somebody on Facebook the other day about this. Like, this whole Chevy announced that they're putting it into all of their models in 16, right? Or most of their models, I think, in 2016, the Volt included. The manufacturers that decide not to get on board with this are going to be even further behind and look even worse than they do now, because the worst implementation of Apple CarPlay is going to be 3 years ahead of whatever Toyota's latest infotainment system is.
I found it interesting, since you mentioned Toyota, that they this article actually mentions, you know, vehicle makers embedded infotainment systems. Oddly enough, there was one that was missing, and it was Intune. I mean, I'm sure, but it didn't merit a mention.
As Toyota continues to stick their head in the sand with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, they have just this week they put out or just yesterday they put out press release saying that they reached an agreement with Ford Motor Company to explore collaboration with Livio, a Ford subsidiary, for the implementation of smart device link technology in future Toyota and Lexus vehicles. So, what is smart device link technology? That's a great question, Danny.
What's it? Libio?
Livio, Livio is what it is. SDL, Smart Device Link, is an open source platform created to facilitate smartphone applications, including entertainment, traffic, parking, and other data from the internet for use in car infotainment systems. Oh my God, that is an amazing idea, to do open source platforms to create smartphone applications. It's like giving developers an SDK to create apps that could work on a phone, which could then in turn work in your car. What an amazing idea. You know who should? Android and Apple should do something similar to that, don't you think? Wait, they already do. Thanks for wasting our time, Toyota.
And your money. That's the part that kills me. I mean, this is about time and money. Okay, so but I don't want to. I want to back up 1 second. Is the important part of this argument nobody buys a car based on the infotainment system? So who gives a shit? It's what it is.
That's the argument now, isn't it?
Well,
but in 3 years, that is not going to be the argument.
I am guessing that's what we would hear if we were talking to our friends at Chevrolet or whoever, Ford, or
I do not doubt that is true today, but I bet in 3 to 5 years, it is not going to be the case at all.
I agree with you, and I'm going to say, and here's why. Because we've talked on the show many times, and the media has talked about it. It is a fact. Younger people are driving less. Younger people aren't buying cars as much as their predecessors did. I wonder what might be a reason for that.
Wonder why.
I wonder. Might it be the lack of integration of the electronics they use and love and that are part of their lives every second of every day?
Could it be the third appendage known as my Note 4 doesn't do shit in my Toyota Prius? It could be. And I swear to God, and I was talking to this again on Facebook with some people, if the next generation Prius, if Toyota does not come out and say, booyah, we surprised all you bitches, we're actually doing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If they don't have that for the next generation Prius, oh my God, oh my God.
I totally.
It would be shocking to me.
I use this thing every day, and it works much better than that piece of crap in the middle of my dash. I don't even mind that they charged me $3,000 for that piece of crap in the middle of my dash. I just wish they would update it, and I just wish that it would work a little better than it does.
I would have paid, let's go with a $3,000 number. I would have paid $3,150 for them to put an extra $5 into the resolution of the screen and the touch capabilities of it.
Yeah, it's amazing that the screen in my $20,000+ vehicle is crappier than the screen in a convenience store poker slot machine in Bullhead. It's just
there's a point at which these manufacturers, and it's not even the manufacturers, but it's the consumers, are going to really rebel against the idea that this has a quad-core processor, this has an octa-core processor, I've got a freaking Chromebox that runs on an Intel chip that has far more horsepower than the thing in my Prius, and my Chromebox cost me $115.
I can't do that. I was going to pick up my iPad mini and go, this costs $300. My much, much smaller and grosser screen that does much less, cost me $3,000.
Yeah.
So why aren't people as engaged with vehicles as they used to be? Is it their fault? Is it those damn millennials that just won't put down their cell phones? Or is it something else? And maybe have we just forgotten that your consumers change, and if you don't change with them, they're gonna spend their money on other things.
Well, and companies like, and I'm calling out Toyota because of the idea, or because they're the main manufacturer that I am connected with that is not a part of what do they call it? The Open Auto Alliance or something like that. The ones that are doing the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. They push this idea that we need to be more safe in our vehicles, and put down the phone when you get in the car. Don't text and drive. One of the wonderful aspects of Google or Android Auto, and I'm assuming Apple CarPlay, is that when you plug in the phone to the car, you're pretty much hands off the phone for the rest of the time. It's locked out, I believe. So it keeps you from doing dumb stuff like looking at your texts and texting and stuff. Everything is based on voice at that point, or simple commands that you're already frustrated trying to go through on your current in-car dash system. They're just done better because they're actually made by real software developers.
Right. And
the title of this article is what gets me. Toyota to explore integration of smart device link technology. They talk about this SDL being an open source platform. I remember I was in the Intune presser. I don't know what you would call it, but they asked for questions at the end of it, and they had the Intune team, the development team, in the back. And I got up and I asked the question. I said, "This looks really promising. When will an SDK be available for third parties to be able to create apps for it to put in the car?" And they looked at me like it had never crossed their mind.
I mean, even when they rolled out Intune, there was going to be a whole bunch of apps. There's going to be a whole universe of apps that did they ever appear somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I feel stupid, right?
I mean, yeah.
There's navigation.
I can't think of one. I can't think of
exactly. I mean, there's the movie ticket thing or some stupid, iHeartRadio.
It's, I don't know who the people were that they talked to about doing this, because they put in all these apps that I can't imagine anyone actually using, like buying movie tickets on the screen of your car when it's faster to do on your phone, getting a table at a restaurant is potentially useful. Pandora, I think, is the only one that I've ever actually used in any quantity.
Right. And even that integration sucks.
Well, and part of the reason it sucks is because I don't know what bitrate they're sending it at, but the bitrate is awful on the audio. And the album art looks like trash because of the resolution of the screen.
Ugh. Don't even get me started on my car. I mean, when I Bluetooth or when I'm plugged in, either way, the album art half the time doesn't update right. It'll play like it'll display the first song that it played, and then it won't change as the songs change. I mean, this is not.
I thought that only happened to me.
No,
that happens to everybody.
My God.
Okay.
My favorite thing, though, is the random way, like as soon as I connect my phone Bluetooth to my car, which, let me tell you, the word soon is very relative here. It takes forever for my car to actually connect to the phone that it was paired with even 10 minutes ago, if I shut off the car, like I run to the store and I come back out, it's still like, I don't know where your phone is. Where's your phone? And then when it finds the phone, the most entertaining thing is the random place that it picks up and starts to play something is almost, oh, no, that's not true. About half the time, it has nothing to do with what I've been listening to in the last 10 years. Like it finds the most obscure thing in the phone and goes, oh, let's play that. He hasn't heard that in a while.
It's Russell's Discovery Mix.
It is. It's like hitting random, and every playlist is on repeat. I have to hit repeat off. Oh God, it's
Well, and people may hold very different opinions than I do, and that's fine. But in my opinion, if Toyota does not have either some sort of next generation infotainment system that really blows the socks off of people, or they don't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay integration in the next gen Prius, they are going to lose a lot of people to the Volt. I think it's going to be a boon to the Volt.
assuming the Volt has something better.
Well, the Volt will have Android Auto.
And that's true. Implemented in some manner, at least, right?
Yes, and I would assume that you could probably do it with stick figures, and it'd be better than what is in most infotainment systems.
Yeah. Can I go totally off topic while we're ranting on Toyota? I had a flat tire today. Have you ever changed a tire in your Prius?
I have swapped out the wheels on my Prius, but I haven't changed the tire.
Did you use the official company supplied jack?
No, because my car doesn't come with one because it doesn't have a spare.
Oh, you see now. So I should be. I'm royalty because my car actually has a spare. It's like a throwback.
Yeah, it's like a throwback. Nice.
Needless to say, it took me about, and I'm kind of when it comes to doing things with tools, I'm kind of a loser. I will be the first one to admit that. But it took me about 45 minutes to change a tire. Maybe more, maybe an hour. The jack doesn't, yeah. Now, you know what? Maybe they're doing people a favor by not putting jacks and spares in cars.
I think if you're in an urban or a suburban environment, I don't even. It seems to me like the weight that you lose by not having it in there and the positive fuel efficiency that you get from the loss of that weight is well worth it. I guess I should say, I don't understand why people complain so much about cars that don't have spares. I don't think it's a big deal.
No, I get that. I think part of it though is on one hand we have your car weighs less because you're not carrying around a tire that you never use and a jack and a big wrench and a little cranky thing. The cranky thing doesn't work. You use the cranky thing to hit yourself in the head out of frustration because it doesn't actually raise or lower the car. I actually used the wrench for getting the lug nuts off to move the jack. If that give you an idea of how bad it was. But anyway, I don't know that it's so much like somebody going, oh, we'll save 0.4% by taking this stuff out of the car. I think it's more like, hey, you know what? That crap costs us like $7.30. So we're going to save $7.30 per unit if we take these things out of the car. And somebody went, oh, we're getting those out of the car.
I do not doubt that, but there's definitely something to be said for that. All of the eco models that you see of cars that get a couple extra miles per gallon they're always sans spare tire.
Right. And do they put an air pump in those?
Yeah, I think mine's got the little goopy stuff and an air pump.
Oh, I mean, the goopy stuff is that's probably more evil than good. But if they give you a little air pump, like a 12-volt air pump, okay, because I could have used a 12-volt air pump today. I didn't have one.
Yeah. I usually keep one in my car.
But
that's more because I'm an MPG nerd than anything else. It's true.
And we all know I am not. Speaking of MPG nerds, this is another question that I want to just... I don't want to dissect this too much. I mean, maybe we can. Maybe you want to, but I don't want to. But I do want to pose it on the show and see if people want to drop some feedback at facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Because I'm developing a theory here. So Forbes, or I read this in Forbes, you may have read it somewhere else, announced this week that Ford was following Tesla and Toyota in releasing their EV patents. Ford's releasing more than 650 EV patents and another 1,000 pending patent applications related to electric vehicles. I have a theory. All these patents, they're not worth shit. That's why everybody's giving them away.
Yes.
They're meaningless. Because and I said this when Elon... Ooh, I said the word. I said the E word.
Oh.
I said this when Elon, had the big announcement about, Tesla's releasing all of its patents. And I went, they must not be valuable then. Because
yes. Why would you do it if they were worth anything?
Why would you do it if your competitors could truly use that technology to beat your ass?
You know what patents Toyota hasn't released? They're hybrid patents.
I was just going to say HSD. Yeah.
Because that's worth something, baby.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah, nobody's really licensing EV technology from anybody else. Toyota had Tesla build the RAV4 EV for them because they were lazy and because they had no experience and they wanted to get the car off the ground quickly. I agree. I think it just shows how must be worthless these patents really are. And especially Ford's patents. What are Ford's patents going to tell you? Well, if you make the trunk really small, you can put a big battery in the back of a Ford Focus.
And if you make 20 of them a month, no one will ever get to actually drive the damn thing and give it the review that it should get.
No one will care.
They won't care. Yeah, no one will know that this really isn't really a car. It's just sort of a thing. Hey, speaking of a car that isn't a car, it's just a thing. International Business Times. Love our journalistic sources. International Business Times reported something, and I'm going to cling to it just because it supports something that I said. And I'm that kind of guy. When everybody was, and people are still I see all on my news alerts for the show. Every day somebody's reporting about the Apple car, the Apple electric car, the self-driving Apple electric car. Headline, quote, mysterious Apple vans are for 3D mapping app and not a self-driving car. Unquote. Thank you.
No. Impossible.
I'm sticking with that. I don't know that the International Business Times has done a lot of investigative reporting here.
I'm sorry. So let's be clear. Are you telling me that Apple is not taking a Dodge Town and Country and trying to make it into an Apple car? Because nothing screams Apple car more than a Dodge van.
I understand that each one has Johnny Ive cup holders.
I would love to see a Johnny Ive white background commercial extolling the virtues of the Dodge minivan.
Croft, I can't even do it. I can't do it, but yeah. Yeah, I would too. I'd love to see that commercial.
The supple leather seats. I can't even do an accent like he does. He's that crazy.
Oh, bastard sitting in the back of his Bentley laughing all the way to the bank.
So then what if they are not making the slickest damn town and country minivan you've ever seen in your life, why have they been hiring all these Tesla folk? Do you have any new hypotheses on why that's happening?
I don't. I can't explain it. And I've always been, like a lot of the show is speculation. We just we offer our opinion because we follow things, and supposedly we might know a little more than somebody else, maybe not. But there are times when there's no data and it's like, why bother? You just and I don't know. I don't know. And
best thing I can come up with that I haven't seen anyone else talk about, and that's battery technology.
You'd certainly think that Tesla has some knowledge there, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And that seems to be a place that Apple, and I hate this, they're not willing to budge on increasing battery size because it increases thickness of their devices. They're trying to make them smaller until they're the thickness of a wafer, and instead of focusing on batteries.
I agree with you. You know that I would take a 2% thicker iPad if it had like an amazing. I mean, iPad has great battery life anyway, but phone then, give me a phone that I only have to charge once a week.
And from what I understand, I'm not an iPhone user, but from what I understand, it's just getting worse too.
With the watch, yeah, the watch is killing them. It's killing them.
Well, and the watch and just the newest versions of iOS continue to eat up more and more battery life. Everybody I see on Facebook or whatever is always talking about how they're, a 2 charge a day iPhone user. Could just be because they use them so damn much.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a 5S. I haven't even bought the 6. So, I mean, my 5S, no, I have no problems making it through a day. But I'm also a religious charger. If that phone is here in the house, it's on a charger.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, this comes from being a photographer where all of your devices run on rechargeable batteries. And the first thing I do is everything goes into the charger. Chargers. I have an entire table full of chargers, which someday I'll share with you and our faithful viewers and listeners.
I was hoping that we could see what was inside the tool chest before you moved it.
I thought you were going to ask about the big tube.
Well, that we will leave for another week.
Yeah, because I don't even know that I should really talk about it. Yeah, we're going to be cool. Well, our last thing is really it was just another chance for me to sort of do what I usually do, which is criticize things. Streetsblog Network.
This is in the long line of Russell, Texas rants.
Yeah. This is maybe my compliment to Danny's Honda rant. This is Russell's Texas rant. This might be my favorite headline of the week. Not in a bad way, in a beautiful way. Streetsblog Network, streetsblog.net, on Thursday, May 28th, wrote a wonderful article with this headline, quote, "The 23-lane Katy Freeway, a monument to Texas transportation futility." The upshot of this is basically Texas Under Governor Rick Perry blew $2.8 billion to expand this freeway that runs like 10 or 12 miles to some 23-lane monstrosity. Of course, they kept out all the socialist HOV lanes and all of that. This is a men's highway for men. Women be at home. And men who can make choices about which lane they want to be in. And what they found out is, you know what? That old Field of Dreams thing, if you build it, they will come. And basically, they expanded the freeway, and now it's filled with cars. It takes the same amount of time to go from point A to point B that it used to before the freeway was expanded, which we've seen over and over and over again. If we didn't ignore history, we would know these things. The way to get make commuting on the road faster is to give people other options that don't involve individually owned vehicles.
There's an interesting two-part conundrum that's going on in Charlotte right now, which is where I live, for listeners who don't know. One piece of it is the 485 interstate that runs, it's probably about 4 miles from my house is the closest exit. It is the most traveled piece of road in the entire state of North Carolina. And it has been 2 lanes, well, 4 lanes total, since it was built 10 years ago or something like that. They've recently added a 3rd lane, opened it up. It helped traffic in the morning going into town. In the afternoons, though, it didn't do anything. It actually just kind of shifted where the traffic was from the section that is 3 lanes to where it bottlenecks down back down to 2 lanes. It creates traffic, which then backs up for miles of 3-lane traffic. So there was discussion because there was a 4th lane built on each side that is not being used. It has had just drums on it, cones, this whole time. And it is a very interesting business opportunity, I guess is the way I'll put it, where private companies are doing toll lanes in at least this part of North Carolina. I think they might be doing it in Raleigh as well. But basically, so instead of opening this up as a HOV lane, they're opening it up as a toll lane that you get a guaranteed 45 miles an hour in it for whatever the fee is. Now, there's been discussion of allowing alternate fuel vehicles or multi-passenger vehicles to occupy the lane for free. No one really knows because it's a private business. They're going to make up whatever rules they want. So there's been a lot of discussion about that. Then the flip side of it, the entire flip side of it is that as you approach Charlotte is actually doing quite a bit to make itself a more walkable, public transit-y kind of city, because everybody knows that's how millennials are. They're not buying cars anymore, and future generations appear to be following the same trend. And so they're actually looking at covering the 277 loop that goes around downtown. They're looking at covering that and making it into walkable space so people can walk, or I guess I'm assuming transit lines would probably go across it too, but could walk into Uptown instead of there being a gigantic 6-lane interstate that is impassable.
Yeah, not much fun.
So they're basically looking at putting a lid on it, is what they call it.
Huh.
Making the whole thing a tunnel, kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They did that with a piece of the 15 in San Diego, and I don't know how that worked out for them. But it was interesting because it used to be it was surface, and they actually tunneled underneath. They still have horrible traffic, so I know that in general didn't help. But
yeah, I think that the whole lidding of 277 is definitely like kind of out there as far as if it'll actually happen. But this whole private toll lane thing is very contentious because they're doing it on I-77 as well as on 485. And what's also contentious is the fact that they're not opening up this extra lane that they built, that the state paid to have built. They're not opening it for another 2 years until they can build the toll lane. So they could open it up now as a single-use lane or an HOV lane and then turn it into a toll lane later, but they won't do that.
Right, because they can't give it away now and charge for it later.
Yeah, even though the taxpayer paid for it.
Yeah. Hey. Private is good.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, this is one of those things that for some reason I think a lot of people understand, and in a slightly larger group doesn't just really clue into it all, which is making freeways bigger doesn't solve congestion problems. It just makes room for more cars, and more cars fill up those spaces. I don't know of a place yet where this hasn't happened. And I welcome your comments to the contrary. Tell me why I'm wrong at facebook.com/whatdrivesus.
Please tell Russell why he's wrong.
Oh, please.
I get so tired of being the only one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could, if only.
Well, let's close out the show with a comment from a current viewer.
Let's do that.
He's actually watching live now. Lee Moon. He posted on the Google Plus page for this episode. He said, "Here's a missed opportunity in the news today. A lady was driving a 2012 Chevy Malibu on a Florida interstate when the car was struck by lightning. The car stalled in the middle of the interstate with none of the electronics working, including the doors and windows. Their Facebook comments included this brilliant nugget. If she'd been in a Volt and doing 88, she'd be back in 85 and we'd all be driving electric by now."
1.21 gigawatts, right?
1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, I'm sorry. You see,
It's all in how you say it.
I screw up that pop culture reference because I don't remember it. I just hear other people say it.
That's so sad.
I know. I'm hopelessly sad.
I am glad we got to do it today.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Nice. Thank you. You say it was Lee?
That was Lee Moon. Yes.
Thank you, Lee, for that. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Lots of good stuff on the Facebook page. You know what? My only shout out this week was to Toyota for the wonderful jack experience I had replacing my flat tire this morning in the rain, in the city, on a public street.
Was it snowing in June?
No. It's the temperature is quite nice now, but yeah, it was
like 70 here in June, and that's weird.
Yeah, no, I think the high today was like 51, which is odd because it was 92 10 days ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So hey, cheers to the folks that now have Prius C's with air pumps in them. Believe me, you're better off no matter what you think.
I think Prius C's are still getting tires across the board.
Why is that? You know, the cheapest entry level, like what can we make out of styrofoam car? And they put the tire in the jack in that one?
Well, have you replaced the tire yet? Because it could be that the tire is really cheap, so it'll just fall off.
No, I actually had the tire repaired.
Okay, good.
I had the tire. The tire was able to be repaired, and the little donut wheel actually got me to the garage. So, cheers for that. And I was able to stow everything back reasonably.
I love seeing those people on the interstate who are like from out of state or something, and they're driving 75 on the interstate with a donut tire.
Oh, man.
No, honey, the tire will be fine until we get home from vacation. Don't worry.
It's only 1,500 miles left.
Well, it's made to go this speed. Don't read the instructions. The instructions are for another car.
If I could tell the horror of one of my coming back from doing a recon trip before we bought this house in Pennsylvania, we were driving the Jeep Liberty that we used to have. I was on the 95 somewhere in North Carolina at literally 3 a.m. It was winter. There was snow on the ground, and we got a flat.
Oh,
I want to tell you, that was my least favorite tire changing experience because there's no like real shoulders. I mean, there's like a shoulder and then it sucked the whole and I was worried about getting killed and so
death would always be on my mind.
Yeah. Changing on an empty road because you just it's the one driver that's just gonna like come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
When there's a whole herd of them, they're being careful. I want to, let's see, before we go, we should do, I want to do can I do the Facebook shout out or do you want to do it?
No, you go ahead.
I can do it. I want to shout out to all 618 people that have been kind enough to like our page. And I want to thank my lovely wife who is out there recruiting and talking to her friends in the alt car and EV world and all that to follow us. Welcome to all of you. I hope you're enjoying the show, and thank you for liking the page. Do us a favor, please. If you really like what's going on, invite your friends to the page and invite your friends to check out the show, because we appreciate that. So cheers to everybody there. I'm not as good as Tony is, so I'm not going to do shout outs to individual people because I'll screw that up. And I got to leave something for Tony to do,
It's true.
Otherwise he cries.
Shout out to Tony then.
Yeah, shout out
to Facebook member Tony Schaefer for liking the Facebook page.
I wonder if Tony has liked the page. I bet that bastard hasn't even liked his own show.
If he hasn't, we are taking away his administrative.
He's off the show. Yeah, definitely. Do you have any shout outs, Mr. Cooper?
Not that I can think of. Just
not even your usual one?
Well, you can check out the Prius Chat shop. That's priuschat.com/shop. For any of your Prius accessory needs, you can also check out priuschat.com for all of your Prius needs. If you have any desire to speak with another Prius owner, check out priuschat.com. We might have some new destinations for you coming soon as well. So stay tuned this summer for that.
Nice.
For drivers of other vehicles. I'll just put it that way.
Wow. Diversifying, I see. I actually used Prius Chat this morning.
To fix your tire, or?
As a matter of fact, I couldn't find the damn jack.
Oh.
It's not under the tire. And it's not where I thought it would be. So I had to go to Prius Chat, somebody had posted some stuff, and there was a search, and I found it. Yay! Found the jacking points, just confirmed where they are, and yeah, it made me very happy.
I took Nicole's hardware out of her car to switch my tires on my Prius because my car doesn't even have the hardware to do it, the jack and stuff. And so she has an Odyssey, and they put, in order to get the storage space in that car, which is amazing, they had to move the tire to a interesting space. It is underneath the floor, right at the floor of where your feet would be if you were sitting in the second row. So in other words, basically, if you're on a road trip, because 9 times out of 10 blown tires happen during road trips, the place where all of your kids' crap is going to be covering the tire that you need to get to. So you're going to have, of course, screaming children, and then you're going to have all your crap on the side of the road because you're having to move it to get to the tire. So anyway, that's just one of the joys I thought I'd share with you this week.
The joys of forward thinking and vehicle design.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll never have to worry about it.
Yeah, here's to that. Hopefully none of our viewers or listeners will.
We'll be back regular time next week. Is that right?
Next Wednesday, 9 p.m. I think that's what we're planning on. And maybe there'll be a panel.
Maybe. Or you can vote at the Facebook page and just say, no, we only want to hear Danny and Russell from now on.
Oh, man, you just cut our payroll by like 70%. and for you viewers and listeners out there, 70% of nothing is that much. Nothing.
Is it still nothing? Okay.
Nobody gets paid. We don't make any money. We have no sponsors. We don't get listener donations. I think we need a telethon. Or maybe we should just announce we're not going to bake cakes for gay couples and people will send us tens of
thousands. Oh my God. We could become millionaires if we said that we will not allow gay people to download our podcast. Why didn't we think of this?
It's such a horrible, horrible joke, okay? It's a joke, but it's horrible, but it is funny.
No, this week the way that we would get airtime, media time, is if we said that we wouldn't allow Caitlyn Jenner to download our podcast. So we should start a GoFundMe and then say something really awful like we won't allow Caitlyn Jenner to download our podcast, and then we'll make lots of money.
And we'll make lots of we'll tap into those conservative dollars that are flowing everywhere.
Rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
We'll just do it every time something comes up. Let's be like, we will not allow the Dugar family
No!
to download the podcast.
I've intentionally throttled myself 3 or 4 times during the show because I wasn't going to say that word, and you had to go there.
And with that, let's end the show.
Let's get the hell out of here. As always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for his theme music, or our theme music, and it's his music. We use it for our theme. He's at manthing.com. You can find us at whatdrives.us. You can download or stream the show there on Stitcher, on all sorts of things, of course, on iTunes. And if you do that through any of those services, please subscribe and please give us a review. Please, we need that. We need that support. It's not money, but we'll take that. We'll take anything. We're desperate, sad people. If you like our show, don't share it with us. Okay, don't hold it back. Emote. It's okay.
We are desperate, sad people.
I'm a desperate, sad person. Danny, on the other hand, is full of optimism, as you can tell.
Oh yes.
Is that it?
That's it. Good to talk to everybody this week.
That's it. Download us next week and find out what drives us.